What's going on, world? Hope all is well. Much love. I'm back in the lab with my guy. Y'all see who I got in here with me. We not on IG Live no more, buddy. We not on IG Live no more, buddy. Okay. Yeah. Show the face, man. Show the face. Nah. We wanted to I told my guy that we was gonna bring these conversations like out of let me get off my phone. Out of social media into the stew. Just because I think it'll be a better look and a better conversation and it'll present better, you know what I'm saying, after the fact. So get used to what you're seeing right now. You know what I'm saying? Me and my guy, Matthew C. Horne, author, motivational speaker, dating coach, because you niggas need a dating coach. Matt, what's good, my guy?
Young Hunter, what's the deal, baby?
See you, baby.
We in here, man. We in here.
Hey, man, pop your shit. You in here, you know what I'm saying? Introduce yourself, man.
All right. Well, good to be back in this. Well, good to be in the stew for the first time.
There we go.
Cook it up the way you're supposed to.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this is Matthew C. Horne, author, motivational speaker, and dating coach. In here with my boy, Young Hunter. We bringing you a nice topic tonight. Socials at Matthew C. Horne everywhere. Website, www.matthewchorne.com. And books, get your copies. We're almost sold out. How to Get Beautiful Women and Everything Else You Want from Life. In addition to my latest, How to Be Appealing to Successful Black Men for Black Women. They're both available at www.matthewchorne.com. Stay tuned, y'all.
Man, y'all need to read them books, man. No, so in this conversation, right? Kind of building on the last one. We touched on, you know, what an inspirational woman is, right? So that kind of evolved into a topic where I think it applies to this conversation is really going to apply to everybody in this day and age, because when you look at socioeconomic statuses, and not just socioeconomic statuses, but where people see themselves in them, like how people view themselves in them, and you tie that into relationships, you get the smorgasbord of what we have now. So entrepreneurs that are dating is different than somebody that might be not just a 9-to-5 worker or a traditional worker, but might not aspire to make more than a certain money, where somebody that might be aspiring to be a high earner, 6 figures or more, dating them will be different. You know what I'm saying? So when we look at the different socioeconomic levels and tiers, and then see how people see themselves within them, I think that's what this conversation kind of builds life from a relationship standpoint, because you can't date everybody the same way. You know what I'm saying? You can attract people from different, again, economic aspects or statuses, especially based on how they view themselves. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of want to preface the conversation and start it with that. What you think about kind of how I let off there? You know what I'm saying? What you want to add to that?
Yeah, there's a different reality with the different levels of individuals that you're dealing with. And, you know, there's always going to be some adjustments, especially when people scale up in terms of status and money and, like you said, socioeconomic levels. Usually those people are very disciplined, and they had to establish a certain way of moving in order to get to where they are. So it's going to be a little different dealing with them. But, you know, I think, you know, if a person made it in life, I think they have logic and reason. So I don't think there's going to be anything outrageous that this person may ask of you. But there will be some differences. If you've been used to dealing with people who aren't quite on that level, you're going to see some differences when you start to deal with individuals who are on that level.
So let's discuss the levels, right? And who they are, you know, them is in a sense, right? So it's like, should someone be assessing how they date someone more on what a person does for a living or how much money they make? That's one of the things I thought about with this topic, because I think there is some confusion there. So I want to present that to you. You think people assessing people based on their job title or more how much money they make?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that the two correlate. I think that people are judging people with their job titles and how that indicates how much money they actually make. So I
Right.
think they're sort of like one and
Right.
the same. So
Right.
um,
On one hand, but I got a curveball for you. Go ahead.
yeah. But I think pretty much like, you know, people are looking at like status and job titles, and that's pretty much how it goes out here, especially in this area. You know, that's how people are judging people. But yeah, that's how you get judged. I mean, just think of it like, you know, you're out in DC. What's the first question? Oh, what do you do? You know what I'm saying? Like you're getting sized up, and like your job, your title, who you're associated with. Like you don't even have to say your salary, but people are trying to decipher your salary.
Because they already looked it up, so they know how much money you make based on what your position is.
They've already come to their conclusion.
Right, but you said something else too, is status. So that's interesting because status, when you look at like job title and income, salary, status is a little more sketchy because you can have status and not have money. You can have money and not status in a sense. So when you add status in it, it makes things tricky. You could be popular or fly. I mean, we see plenty of women that's bad, beautiful, ain't got a shit going for them, just other than looking good. You know what I'm saying? No different than on the men's side where you see some dudes that might have status, might have a reputation, might be popular, might be known,
Yeah.
but just as a shitty person. You know what I'm saying? So how, like, I know from my perspective, I think one of the flaws is people can't compartmentalize accordingly when we talking about all these things.
Yes, and see that's the thing. Like when a person, regardless of their status, I think the best two people to meet that have a chance to make it are two individuals that have an individual identity outside of the material world.
I agree.
All right, so you're not really sizing the person up and trying to categorize them. You're more concerned with their qualities, and that's what you're talking about. They can be a shitty individual with a high earning and high status person,
Right.
you know. But I think that the real people are the people who may even have the status and they don't wear it on their sleeve. If they have the money, they don't wear it on their sleeve. So I think that those are the two individuals who can connect. And if you have a motive based on trying to size someone up for their status, now you're not there for the right reasons. And if that person is trying to use their status, then the other person is trying to take advantage of their status, they're a perfect match of chaos that's coming.
This is where the game is now. This is why things are so fucked up. And we talked about this when because I know it triggered me with the inspirational women conversation, right? From this standpoint, I don't like we talked about in that conversation. I think a woman that is inspirational isn't trying to, no more than a man that is.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? It made me think about Jaden Daniels. Of course, you know, shout out to the Commanders. I ain't had a quarterback in 30 years, so I'm gonna shout him out every chance I get. So, but if you look at Shawty, he didn't inspire the whole city. He just trying to do his thing in his rookie year. Exactly. I think he's a perfect example of being inspirational without trying to.
That's the only way to be inspirational.
That's the only way to be it. So, not to digress too much, but to go back to what we were just saying, when you have people looking at, oh, what do you do for a living? Versus who you are as a person, you're going to run into some problems.
Yes.
And I think the flip side to that is, too, in our day and age, with our generation, people kind of want the benefits of money and status, but they want a solid person and individual, which might not be able to earn or acquire that money and status.
Exactly.
And that's the conundrum I feel like we in a sense.
That's exactly where we are. And two people who have the right motives, they tend to elevate together. They tend to figure things out, and they tend to see the best in the other person, and they tend to inspire the best to come out of the person that's across from them as well. You don't always have to have everything together. I believe as an adult that, you know, at a certain point, let's say like after 30, you shouldn't necessarily be dreaming anymore. You should have some substance behind your dream, even if you haven't quite arrived there. That's what I say in my book, How to Get Beautiful Women and Everything Else You Want from Life. But as long as you're showing an upward trajectory and you have a trail of results that are following you, then you can trust that person that they're going to continue to elevate because they already have the evidence of it. And then, you know, then you tune into that character. how is that person showing up to their life every day, and how they showing up to your life? Are you elevating and growing as a result of having encountered this person and having them in your space? I think these are the correct things to judge people on, because the material world is fleeting.
People don't realize. Well, I can't say that people don't realize it, because, like you said, people aren't. What did you say? People aren't. I can't. I'm losing the quote right now, but I think people are misassessing things ultimately. Like, solid moral compass doesn't have a look. You know, assessing who a good person is doesn't have a look. So when you look at our dating scene and kind of how frivolous it is and how kind of unfocused and, you know, like it's not purposeful, it's not intentional. You kind of see how a woman, let's say that maybe making $40,000-$50,000, can have an inflated value of herself and may want a man that makes twice as much as she does, but not understanding what comes with having that man.
That's the real.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's definitely the real. Right?
No, and then you see the same. Now, I think you don't see the exact same with men, because men know that you have to position yourself a certain way to get what you want. I mean, even if you feel entitled to a certain type of woman, you know she's just not coming to you. Men know that there's competition.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I mean, we you know, like, all right, I might be tall, but I might not have this, or I might be short, or I might not have that. We assess kind of where we at and how it gets us to our end result a little bit differently than women. And I'm trying to put it lightly. Definitely trying to put it lightly. But I was trying to think of that damn quote that you said.
I be saying stuff.
It's the one where you said, well, she's not something, she's manipulative.
Oh, that one. Oh, that's our favorite one right there. She's not delusional, she's manipulative.
And so I want to expound on that one, not necessarily just from a woman's standpoint, but that quote applies to people like shit moving forward forever. People are not delusional; they're manipulative. The woman that works, the man. Oh, I'm not even gonna use the woman. The man. Let's use the man on the flip side. The man that is the average 9-to-5 worker, where you can't pay 51+% of the bills. You know what I'm saying? You might be in the blue collar field. You might not be highly educated. You know what I'm saying? But you're a good man. You're a good person. It's a prime example of how, all right, what that dude's standards is for a woman might not match certain things as far as what he can get. It ranges. But he wants a wife, right?
Yeah.
How does that guy assess a wife no differently than a man that might be in the top 10% of earners, that might be a six-figure earner? He can afford more things because he can, you know, where his moral compass may be a little bit different. Never mind sexual preferences or relationship preferences. You know what I'm saying? Because we're going to tap into that too. But I'm throwing out examples of the different type of people they are, and who is for these people? Who is there for the six-figure dude versus the 9-to-5 dude?
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
I saw something really interesting earlier, maybe today or yesterday, and it was my guy Miles Cunningham. Him and Mr. Locario go pretty hard on YouTube. Shout out to them. But he was talking about the polarity of attraction and how the Earth has to have a balanced type of individual entering the Earth at all times. So there are people who pair themselves that are the least likeliest of matches, because the Earth needs those two unlikely people to come together and combine their genetics and bring a certain type of person into the Earth.
No different than heat and cold can create a storm.
Yeah, it's just like it's not.
It's interesting.
It's not always rhyme and reason, and that's one thing I've been talking about. You know, even some of my videos on my YouTube page, like you can't control who you fall in love with. So
let's go there. Let's tap into that. Especially within the context of what we're talking about in regards to socioeconomic statuses, and relationship standards. So if you can't control who you fall in love with, that can be detrimental, right?
Well,
That doesn't always lead to a positive outcome.
no, I see what you're saying.
Or does it? I mean, you could give me pushback.
Like there's a Tyler Perry movie, right? It's
Several of them.
Some of his stuff be way out there, but
Right.
this was the one with Dwayne Wade's wife. What's her name?
Gabrielle Union.
Gabrielle Union, right? And he was engaged to her.
Mm-hmm.
She was the ideal match for him. He was the head of like this multi-million-dollar company, and he ended up entertaining like the lady who was sleeping in her car, cleaning up his office and stuff like that.
Okay, I see where you're going.
I can't quite remember her name. She was in that movie with Tupac back in the day. The light-skinned chick.
I know if I see her face. I can't think of her name right now.
But anyway, like he was engaged to Gabrielle, but he was just happened to be in natural situations, spending more time with this other woman, and then they fell for each other.
Oh, fraternizing at work, huh?
Yeah. and then,
right.
And then the mother, turned her nose up at the woman like, you ain't this and you ain't that. And everybody looked at them as the unlikeliest of pairs, but the heart wanted with the heart wanted. And him and Gabrielle just kind of came together and was just like, man, look, we did this for optics. We did this for everybody else. Like, our heart ain't in this. And it wasn't any disdain between them. They parted ways, and he ended up leaving with the girl and her daughter, and they rode off into their sunset. So I think ultimately, regardless of status and money and class, I think that especially because the man is the one that has to be inspired to get down on one knee.
Always, that hasn't changed.
I think that
modern women, that hasn't changed.
Yeah. So I just think that at a certain point, especially as you get older, you are more so looking for the woman that's going to give you the best experience. And she has to be attractive, because that's just how the game is played. Now, you don't know where you're going to encounter an attractive woman who intrigues you enough to try to get at her, and you don't know anything about her, but which means you're going to encounter a wide range of attractive women.
This is true.
And you don't know which one is going to be the one.
Let's go. Okay.
That gives you the experience that's a reflection of how you view yourself as a man. Because you can have a 6-7 figure man and meet one of these Upper Marlboro living 6-figure chicks out here.
Shout out to all women. Hey, PG County, shout out to Upper Marlboro. Go ahead.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But like, she could treat you good, or she could be like trying to compete with you or something. Like, I know you think about the conversation.
Hey, what you say about Upper Marlboro? All right, my bad. Go ahead. My bad.
Hey, nah, you can, man.
Nah, it'll come back up. Keep going.
Nah, man, but you know what I'm saying? You can meet her, and then you can meet her in the same packaging without all of the allure and the accolades. But then the woman who has the lesser accomplishments gives you a better experience. And at a certain point in time, especially if the man is affluent, he doesn't really care what the woman is bringing to the table financially.
Right.
As long as she's there for the right reasons and she inspires him, and he can trust her because she's there for the right reasons, he's going to provide. I've been there myself. So that's what I'm saying. You don't know which woman nature is going to have him drawn to, but ultimately it's going to be the woman who gives him the best experience.
So I understand what you're saying there. But that somewhat is based upon where a certain type of man is, in a sense. Let's go to the guy that's with a fixed income.
Okay.
In his prime, though. So let's say, like, let's talk about men and women with a ceiling. Everybody doesn't have a high and upward trajectory. So from a financial standpoint, economic standpoint, even a scaling within a career standpoint. Let's touch on people with jobs, right? We'll get on entrepreneurs, high-end earners. We'll circle back to that. So let's talk about people that make $40,000, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year. Some people make less than that. The dating mindset should be totally different if you don't plan or have aspirations or certain aspirations economically, in my opinion. If you're a man and you're in a $50,000 range, $60,000 range, you got to be assessing where you're going to live to survive at. because if you get a woman within the same income range, because again, if you make 50, 60,000, you can't pay all the bills. You might be able to pay your bills. I'm talking about when you expound to have a family, wife, children. So she's going to have to work.
Most couples do.
You know what I'm saying? So if that's the case, how do we have some of the narratives that we have out here, which a lot of them are false, and some of these conversation and topic points where it's like the majority of people are average earners. So if the majority of people are average earners, how is that not reflected in their dating experience? How the fuck is Cheesecake Factory a place where a woman would look down to? That if you make $50,000-$60,000 a year, you can't afford to go to Cheesecake Factory probably once a month.
Yeah,
and spend $250.
Yeah.
The fuck? Because you can do that in Cheesecake Factory. They got good martinis, nice menu. They've expanded. Not even going into the young brides that we talking about. I'm not going to Cheesecake Factory. They done got some ass several times taking a woman to Cheesecake Factory. Just cut it out. But you understand what I'm saying? If you're in a certain price range, I ain't gonna say price range, a certain income range, shouldn't that dictate your dating standards?
It should. Operative word is should. Now, when we say they're not delusional, they're manipulative. They're not having these extravagant experiences that they require. They're not having them on a regular basis, and that's the problem. So they're throwing shit at the wall and hoping that it sticks, hoping that a sucker actually believes that they're having these experiences.
Hold up. That's for men and women. Because the bammers that's faking like they can take you on these dates and they're going broke to impress you just to get some ass, it applies to men too.
Yeah, let's keep it balanced, man.
There's too much fluff in the game.
Yeah, man.
Like if you work and you know that let's use the DC area for example. Let's keep things in perspective, right? In the DMV. In this area, you have to make I haven't checked my statistics in this area recently, but I will just because I'm saying something now. But hey, let's say 87, 88,000 for a single person to be comfortable. That's you, roof over your head, transportation situation, and roof over your head in a decent area.
Yeah, that's doable.
Marlow Heights, Temple Hills,
It's doable.
yeah.
It's doable, man. It's doable. It's not as bad as we think.
You can get fucked up around there on the wrong night.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's that. Alexandria is different than Howard County. You know what I'm saying? A Fairfax County. You know what I'm saying? Like a northern Baltimore County. Like, let's be honest. So in the DMV, you got to make 85 to 90K as a single person to really be comfortable.
Yeah, and a lot of that depends on. I'm glad we talking about this topic in terms of different tiers of individuals. A lot of times it's not how much money you make; it's how much you keep. And,
That too.
And it's your attitude towards money and your relationship with money. So there are individuals who, like,
Okay.
I'm an advocate of living below your means.
Absolutely. I agree 100%.
That, whether I've been up or down in business, as a high earner, like it has allowed me to stay afloat.
Mm-hmm.
And I do radical things like pay cash for everything, don't use credit cards, and I cook my own food and stuff like that. I still, get out and enjoy myself. But I'm saying it's doable because you can have the person that's making $150,000, $160,000, and student loans from undergrad and graduate school, vacations, brunches.
Lifestyle.
They're living off credit cards because of optics.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we need to start sizing people up according to their relationship with money. If we're talking like status, because like you said, you can have the person that has the status, even the money, and be broke, as opposed to someone that's like mid-range, 80,000. They're making the proper investments. They living off of 60, ducking 20 away. Just dressing regular,
right?
And got 200,000 in the bank,
right? And I think this is so important moving forward because let's make no mistake about it. With our demographic, you know, we 80s babies. We're older millennials. Um, the old generation Y. You know what I'm saying? They done changed our they got some. They don't fuck with our generation in America. Quick side because they done changed our name 3 times. You know what I'm saying? But anyway,
we still young. We
you know what I'm saying? They hating on us,
OG
but
millennials, man.
you know what I'm saying? But we are that. You know what I'm saying? With that being said, um, how you know even how you view retirement now needs to matter. You know what I'm saying? So it's like when you see certain narratives about a man paying 100% of the bills in what fucking country?
Yeah.
Like for a family, like I said, it's one thing if you could take care of yourself as a single person. That's not paying 100% of the bills for you and your wife and taking care of a child or children. So if women have that, I'm kind of touching on women in this particular part of the conversation. If that's your standard and that's what you want and you need, all right, what type of men fit that bill? And what do those men want? Like Unc often said, you know what I'm saying? This is how we built some of these conversations off Kevin Samuels. The men that got that money to pay that, newsflash, they're going to have sex with more than one woman. I know y'all don't want to hear that shit. I know you don't want to fucking deal with it.
I'm gonna talk about it. Go ahead.
I'm just saying, it is what it is. You're not going to get this magical guy all for yourself, especially if the women that want this guy number in the thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. There's not a bunch of tall, big dick, rich niggas laying around.
Keep it real with it, man.
This is what it is.
It's almost Sunday. We preaching to the congregation.
It don't matter. They be rolling in church. It don't matter. It doesn't matter. So it just is what it is. So they're unrealistic. Never mind talking points and narratives with social media, but we're seeing it translate to the statistics, bro.
Yeah, and that's a good place to park it for a quick second.
Right.
All the statistics. Okay, so you want this 6-figure guy. What percent of us in our community are even making that?
Is that 10 or less?
Yeah, pretty much. Okay, so you already eliminated right
90, you eliminate 90% of your potential candidates.
And 80%,
come on, man.
And 72% of you are never going to get married in your life. So now, so regardless of class.
Now this is specifically speaking towards black women, as you can tell by the statistics we bring up. Keep going.
Yeah. Now there has to be some sort of reconciliation between your desires and your available options if you're going to have a shot at marriage out here. I think that that's one thing Kevin Samuels did was he didn't just focus on the high value man. He focused on the high value man because whether the woman was on welfare or whether she was a CEO, they all wanted the 6-figure, incredibly gorgeous.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like Shamar Moore or Idris Elba.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? They were all in fantasy land. And this and that. But Kevin Samuels, with the desire to bring us together in the spirit of reality, he told you how many men were actually making that kind of money. He shouted out the trade workers, the guys who built the infrastructure of America, the bus drivers, the plumbers, and this and that, because there's more of them than these
blue collar workers is everywhere. That's how America's built. And that's why you see a lot of men in that space. Keep going. I ain't gonna cut you off.
So it's just, if we're going to pair ourselves with one another, because like you said, the guys are kind of realistic about where they stand in the food chain and stuff like that, and the black women are remaining as more unmarried than any other race of women in the world.
That says something.
So you're going to have to temper your expectations at a certain point, and you're going to have to calibrate those expectations if you're going to have a chance at a suitable mate. One thing I even say in my book to black women, and even black women I've met in general that I've dated, they've let me know about, and these were entrepreneurs supposedly, doing this and doing that, and, you know what I'm saying, but whatever. Still have debt and, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
That shiny shit don't mean nothing to me. And so she was telling me about a guy she was previously dealing with. The dude made 6 figures. She was 32. I was probably around 37, 38, 37. And, pretty, but getting a little bit older at 32, let's keep it real. You know what I'm saying? And she was talking about this guy, made 6 figures, they were kicking it, everything was cool. And she didn't want to mess with him anymore because she said he didn't have any ambition beyond where he was.
I've seen that narrative a couple times.
Yeah, and even though we were dealing with each other, I was just like, do you understand? Like that was your match. I was like,
Or even if it wasn't, I mean,
but based on her reasoning, everything else was okay.
right. Well, I recently seen a video where a woman said something about how a man made a certain amount of money, and it was almost like she didn't understand the definition of ambition. You know what I'm saying? Like, well, why you don't want more? And the dude is like, because I'm at where I wanted to be. I reached my goal. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
That's where I was.
Like, when you reach the top of the mountain, you don't want to start jumping off the mountain to fly. You know what I'm saying? Keep going.
That's where I was going with it. And I was trying to help her understand, like, you have an incredible level of ambition. Like, she was just on the phone all day, every day. I was running my plays too.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Two business people in the same space, making things happen right during COVID.
Right.
And I was just trying to help her to understand, like, not every man is going to have your level of ambition. But I said, if this man is self-sufficient, he's not asking for anything. He doesn't need anything from you. You all have a level of attraction, and he's in the top, whatever percentage of earners.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, do you really think you're gonna do better than him? And even though we were dealing with each other, I was like, man, that dude was a match. Just because he didn't have your level of ambition, like, do you really think you have that luxury? And that's more or less what I was saying.
Right, because I think there's a level of, to kind of go back to the talking point, or the general talking point, with the socioeconomic statuses and how it impacts relationships and dating. Not only is there a delusional kind of inflated value that people have about themselves, it almost ties into an unrealistic entitlement, to where it's a recipe for disaster. It's like, it's one thing to think that you're gonna get whatever you want and desire, like that you're gonna get whatever you desire, but then to not have any accountability in that process is just dangerous. Like, and this is why I gave pushback with kind of like certain narratives when it comes to like lust. When you talk about like being desirable and lustful, if you have somebody that's delusional and manipulative and entitled,
Okay.
the last thing they need to be is lustful. They're not responsible with what they're targeting in the first place. So you mentioned earlier, like a woman that's on welfare, living off the system, all the way up to a woman that's a CEO. How can they desire the same dude? That should be impossible. There's no way a woman that's living on Section 8 should think she should get above a certain man.
That's just called throwing shit at the wall and hoping it sticks, man. I guess there's such a collective of delusional women. Now we're not going to say manipulative. We're going to say delusional this time, right?
Right.
That's just so far out there in la la land.
Especially when you're talking about that particular demographic.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're below, not just women and on welfare, you know what I'm saying, living off the system, but in general, like, if you're a woman that's an average earner, you make $40,000 a year, why would you think that you're going to get a man that makes 100 or in the top tier and 10%?
I'm being real because I want to bring solutions to Black women. Like, there's a culture of delusion. There's a culture of overinflation, so that the woman knows that she probably won't even come within arm's length of a guy like that. But the culture is such a norm for you just to say outrageous things, that there's a comfort in putting that out there in the universe and thinking that it's actually going to come back. And instead of preparing yourself for that kind of man, it's just like, I'm just going to say it. I'll speak it into existence. There's no accountability anywhere around me. Everybody around me is just saying whatever. That's the culture. But it's dangerous because the results in the average Black woman's life does not align with her proclamations that she makes in terms of what she wants.
So how do we get people that fit certain economic demographics? Like, where does things go from a solution-based standpoint to where, let's go on the flip side, because we've seen this in narratives too. Dudes that's getting money. You seen the joint I sent you where that white woman was plotting on I don't know if I sent it to you. It was like teaching women how to beat dudes out of child support.
I mean, I've seen enough of it.
You know what I'm saying? I sent you to Jones, Tennessee. Though, so we see that so often.
Yeah.
Where it's like the game is so dirty and the way it's played is so different now. Where it's like on the flip side, it's like, all right, you know, because again, I know black women are sensitive from criticism from black men right now, and that's something we got to clean up because I was telling this to Treese, our homegirl Treese. It's like black women got to understand, like if I'm saying something that's harsh, you can't process it emotionally first before logically because I didn't have to say nothing in the first fucking place.
Can I say one thing real quick?
You know what I'm saying? Go ahead.
Chastisement is the highest form of love in a relationship. Go ahead, huh?
We're gonna clip that one up. Say it again.
Chastisement, meaning his desire to see you better than how he found you. His desire to see you improve so you two can be compatible. Chastisement is the highest form of love in a relationship. So when Hunter spits that to you, he's coming from a place of love.
Place of love. Constructive criticism is challenging for people, because people focus more on the criticism than the constructive part. And I wanted to talk about this. I had this on my notes to make a video about, but I guess I'll discuss it here. Where it's like constructive criticism actually gives you the floor to really assess somebody. Yeah. Because if you really listen to and evaluate and assess what somebody is saying to you, it's going to work out a couple of ways. One, they could be on some hating, ulterior motive bullshit and not be genuine. On the flip side, they can be giving you an honest criticism of something that you can work on as a person, to where if you actually work on it, you could be a better person. So that's a twofold positive thing, because not only did they teach you a way to become better, but they also showed you that they care about you enough to help you become better.
Yeah, and they
you know, so that matters.
They care about you because they desire you. If
you I was saying that in more of a general space where it could be just assessing a good boss, a good supervisor, a good coworker, where somebody could be like, hey, you need to work on getting your ass, to work on time.
Well, you want to know something? They're actually bringing that to you because they see something more in you than you see in yourself.
If they're genuine and they care. If they don't, somebody could give you constructive criticism and they might be trying to steal your shine. They might be trying to take something away from you because they see something in you that you might not see. So constructive criticism is good because it gives you perspective outside of what you have that you really need to evaluate to see how valid it is. You know what I'm saying? If it's good shit, you might have a comrade, a good brother, a good sister, you know what I'm saying, that you might have gained or learned. Or on the flip side, you might have somebody that's close to you that might be in the way. Jealous, envious. But if you're not going to look at constructive criticism logically and more emotionally, then you're always going to be triggered by the fact that somebody just said whatever they said. They said something about what you area you're sensitive about, whether it's personally, relationship-wise, or professionally, and you're not going to hear the message. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to listen to the message. You're going to hear without listening. So that matters.
I wanted to say something.
Go ahead.
I wanted you to be done first.
Go ahead. That matters.
Yeah, it definitely matters. I made a video months ago called "You're Misinterpreting His Love for You," and a lot of times with the chastisement, it's coming from a place of wanting to see you at your best because you actually love this person, and not just love them as an individual. Mm-hmm. You love them enough to want to see them at a place that you two can be compatible. Meaning that
I agree with that 100%. I've been there.
They have to make certain changes and improvements. Now we're talking about the scales of individuals.
Mm-hmm.
A person that really knows themselves, they're elevated, they have the results, and they may have a salary because of the not because they're over ambitious, because they're bringing the best version of themselves to the world every day. So this is a centered and grounded person. Now to be compatible with that person, they're not going to have outrageous asks for you. They're going to ask things from you within logic and reason, and that is going to come with chastisement, which is just correction. Now, if you don't understand the intent in the heart of the person, see their love, you're going to misinterpret the chastisement as getting on you and trying to demean you, like some of the stuff you were talking about, as opposed to someone giving you an elevated perspective to take you to an elevated place.
So, how do you think that shows up for men and women differently? With especially considering who's given the constructive criticism or chastisement. You know what I'm saying?
Great question. Okay, that shows up by what you said, right? So you have to. It doesn't matter that if somebody gives you advice, right? Because
Okay.
because if you don't develop a personal relationship with what they told you, then the advice is going to be null and void anyway. So you can never take the advice to change for somebody. You take the advice to internalize it, run it through your filter, and say, "Can I be better for having taken this advice?" So you literally develop your own relationship with the advice that the person gave you.
More than the actual person.
Exactly. And then once you like you said,
that's how you take constructive criticism.
Yeah, internalize it, right? And you take it through your internal paces, then you can conclude the intent that the person had when they gave you the advice. Now with that, to answer your question, you know they're coming from the right place if they gave you the advice that is going to help you to improve your life.
But see, you have to be able to assess that. See,
if you take it through your paces,
right? And see, so that's where people, I think, are struggling, and just within the context of what we're talking about, where too many of us aren't emotionally intelligent enough to be able to actually just assess what somebody say about you. Like when your mother or father say some shit about you, you're gonna take it as cash shit, and they can be the one that's in the way, depending on who you are as a person, or brother, sister, aunt, uncle, family, whoever's closest to you. Because the people that your enemies can't hurt you more than the people closest to you because they don't know you well enough, as the saying goes, right? So if you can't assess things there, you're definitely going to struggle in the streets with relationally, and that's personally and professionally. Because you're gonna always have to read people. You're always gonna have to assess who you dealing with.
That's very true. But one thing I can say that is a catalyst to bring it all together, so you can interpret the motive. How has your life been since that person's entered your space, man? Have they had a positive impact? The real answers are in the unspoken conversation. And if you can assess that you're better for having known this person, we talk about the inspirational woman, inspirational men too. You know, an inspirational man shows up in your space, and your quality of life improves no matter what you've accomplished in your life.
Yeah.
So if you can assess that I've been improving, and this man is giving me an offering in terms of advice or criticism, then you can just weigh it against the fact that my life has been better since this man entered my space anyway.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, I've recognized kind of that from, you know, my own anecdotal experience type of perspective, because not that I'm not going to, you know, stamp that I've made every relationship better that I've been in. I know I've attempted to, though, because I've been attempting to become the better version of myself.
Yeah, and
you know what I'm saying? So in that process, if I come across a book, you know what I'm saying, I can help you. If I find a, you know, a hiking trail or a workout regimen that can help me, it can help. Now, if you don't use the shit and, you know, you still in a certain place and I'm at a different place, that this ties back into the topic. It's like when you're dealing with certain types of people, not to digress away from your point, but just to
if I check the joint,
yeah, go ahead, go. You good to go. We live. We good to go. So to kind of circle back to your point though, in the topic, it's like, all right, if you understand people, if you understand who you are, what it is that you want and going after. Oh yeah, we cooking, man. But if you understand that, then you shouldn't be going after certain people. You shouldn't be putting yourself in certain spaces and places and situations, because if you understand that, it's like, all right, let's say you the high like that's like the high earner getting caught up with a call girl or some shit. You know what I'm saying? That's like a man on the lower end or scale of things. We seen Kevin Samuels with this shit, talk with dudes on this shit. Like, why are you being critical of women and you're not in the space where you want to be at as a man? Excuse me. People are too comfortable with moving the goalposts for kind of what they want versus kind of just holding themselves accountable to getting it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you want to run the halftime?
So,
What people only run the halftime?
what time is it?
7 now. It's up to you.
Where we at? Let's edit right here. Where we at, Zay? Let's stop right here. How much time was that?